The first time the city froze, I thought I was dying. One moment, the transit platform hummed with its usual late-cycle noise, advert screens flickering, air recyclers sighing, a child laughing somewhere behind me, and the next, everything stopped. Sound vanished. Light locked in place. A woman's scarf hung mid-fall like a torn banner suspended in glass. I alone could still move. I looked down at my hands, half expecting them to be translucent, or burning, or gone entirely. They were the same scarred, ink-stained hands I'd always had. The chronometer embedded in my wrist blinked red. Temporal anomaly detected. Not again, I muttered. The city of Halcyon Prime was famous for its time stability. That was the whole reason the council built their research arcologies here. Why millions lived their lives convinced tomorrow would arrive on schedule. But time had been misbehaving lately, hiccuping like a faulty drive core. And every time it did, my wrist lit up, and I was dragged into the quiet between seconds. That's when I saw her. She stood a few meters away on the platform, frozen like everyone else, but her eyes were moving. Not darting wildly, not panicked, just focused. Locked on me. I felt the familiar prickle crawl up my spine. "You can see me," I said softly. Her lips parted. "So can you." That was the moment everything changed. I approached her slowly, my boots echoing too loudly in the absence of all other sound. Up close, she looked younger than I'd first thought, maybe mid-20s. Dark hair pulled back in a messy tie. A faint scar traced the line of her jaw, the kind you only got from something sharp and very close. "Name?" I asked. "Lyra," she said. Her voice trembled, but she didn't look away. "Lyra Kale." The chronometer buzzed again, harsher this time. A warning pulse. Time freezes usually lasted seconds. This one was stretching. "That's not possible," I said. "No one else moves in the gaps. Ever." "Then why am I?" she asked. I didn't have an answer. I never did when the universe decided to improvise. The freeze snapped back into motion without warning. Sound crashed over us like a wave. The scarf finished its fall. The child laughed again. People surged forward as the next train arrived. Lyra staggered, grabbing my arm to steady herself. She looked around, breathing fast. "They don't remember, do they?" "No," I said. "They never do." She let go, but her eyes stayed on mine. "You're like me." "I don't think so," I replied. "But I think we just became a problem." 2 days later, my door chimed at precisely 3:17. I hadn't told anyone where I lived. I slid the bolt halfway and peered through the crack. Lyra stood in the corridor, hair damp with rain, eyes ringed with exhaustion. "They're watching me," she said. I didn't know who else to go to. I should have closed the door. I'd survived this long by staying uninvolved, by treating my ability as a malfunction to be managed, not a calling. But when I hesitated, she slipped inside, the door sealing shut behind her with a soft hiss. She paced my small apartment, running her hands through her hair. After the platform, things started happening. Clocks slowing. Screens flickering when I walk past. People forgetting conversations they just had with me. "That sounds like temporal bleed," I said. "You're desynchronizing, which means time doesn't know what to do with you." She laughed, sharp and humorless. "Figures." I watched her carefully. "Why you?" She stopped pacing. "Because 3 years ago, I volunteered for a council project I wasn't supposed to survive." The name she gave me made my stomach tighten. Project Threshold. Officially shut down after a catastrophic failure. Unofficially rumored to have tried anchoring human consciousness outside linear time. "They told us it was a perception experiment," she said. "That we'd help map future disaster probabilities. They lied." Of course they did, I murmured. They pushed us through, Lyra continued. Not physically. Mentally. I remembered falling. Not through space. Through moments. Every choice I never made, every second I almost existed in. And you came back, I said. Some of us did, she replied. Most didn't. I sat heavily on the edge of my table. The council buried Threshold because it broke the rules. You don't step outside time without paying a price. Her gaze softened. What was yours? I hesitated. No one ever asked. I was born wrong, I said finally. I slip. Always have. The chronometer helps me track it, but I don't control it. I just survive it. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then Lyra's wrist chimed. Not like mine. Lower. Slower. Almost organic. Her face drained of color. They found me. Before I could ask who, the world lurched. The room stretched, colors bleeding into each other. Gravity twisted sideways. Lyra cried out, stumbling toward me, her hand fisting in my shirt as if that alone could keep her anchored. Don't let go, she whispered, voice breaking. Please. Time froze. Harder than before. The apartment vanished, replaced by a vast, dim expanse threaded with glowing lines. Moments, I realized. Billions of them, crossing and recrossing like a cosmic loom. My chronometer screamed in my wrist. Anchor event detected. Decision window, 3 hours. What's happening? I demanded. Lyra clutched me tighter. They activated the retrieval protocol. The council doesn't erase anomalies anymore. They reset them. Reset how? Her eyes shone with tears. By pulling us back to the point before we broke time. Before Threshold. Before she survived. 3 hours. That's how long I had to decide whether to let the universe correct itself or interfere. We walked through the lattice of moments as if across solid ground. With every step, scenes flickered beneath our feet. Births, deaths, quiet meals, screaming wars. Infinite lives, all balanced on fragile threads. If they reset you, I said, this all stabilizes. Yes. And you die. Technically, I never live, I stopped. That's not acceptable. She faced me, still holding my shirt. You don't know me. Not really. I know enough. You know I'm a walking paradox. That my existence strains everything around me. People forget me. Systems glitch. Time stutters. So we fix it, I said. There has to be another way. She shook her head. Threshold didn't fail. It worked too well. Humans are meant to see what we saw. I came back incomplete. The lattice around us pulsed. Somewhere far away, I felt the council's machines probing, narrowing in. What happens if I intervene? I asked. You'd become an anchor, she said quietly. Bind your timeline to mine. 2 anomalies instead of 1. And time hates that. It would tear at you, she said. Every day. Every second. You'd feel the weight of every choice not taken. I laughed weakly. Sounds familiar. She smiled, sad and fond. Of course it does. The chronometer ticked down. 2 hours, 12 minutes, and 34 seconds. I don't want to disappear, she whispered. But I don't want to destroy everything either. I reached up, covering her hand with mine. You won't. She searched my face. You can't save everyone. No, I agreed. But sometimes you save one person, and that changes more than you think. Time shuddered. Visions crashed over me. Futures branching wildly. In some, I let go, and the lattice smoothed, seamless and cold. In others, I held on, and the universe bent, screaming as it adapted. I saw myself years from now, older, eyes haunted but steady. I saw Lyra beside me, laughing despite the static that followed her footsteps. I saw cities learning to live with small, human imperfections in time. "Why me?" she asked softly. I answered without thinking. "Because you chose to come back." The countdown hit 10 minutes. The council's presence pressed closer, a cold intelligence without mercy or malice. Just correction. Lyra's grip tightened. "If you do this, there's no undo." "I know." "Say it," she insisted. "Say you choose." I met her eyes. "I choose you." The lattice screamed. I reached into the chronometer, past the safeguards I'd never dared touch, and rewrote the anchor protocol. Not erasure. Not reset. Integration. Time surged, folding around us, stitching her paradox into my slipstream. Pain lanced through me, white-hot and endless. I felt centuries compress into heartbeats, felt every almost choice scrape against my mind. Then silence. I woke on my apartment floor, gasping. Morning light filtered through the blinds. The city hummed normally beyond the walls. For a terrible moment, I thought I'd imagined everything. Then I felt her breathing beside me. Lyra stirred, blinking in confusion. When she saw me, her face crumpled with relief. "You're still here," she said. "So are you," I replied hoarsely. My chronometer flickered, then stabilized. A new status line scrolled beneath the warnings. Dual anchor established outside, somewhere far away. A clock skipped a second. No one noticed. They never did. But the universe had learned something new. Imperfection wasn't always a flaw. Sometimes it was a choice. And sometimes, when someone clutched your shirt and begged you not to let go, the bravest thing you could do was hold on, no matter what it cost. Because 3 hours was all it took to change everything. Time never snapped back into place the way the council promised it would. There was no clean seam, no perfect restoration of what had been. Instead, the universe settled the way a cracked bone heals, stronger in some places, aching in others. The days after the integration were the hardest. I woke every morning with echoes in my head. Not voices, not exactly, more like the memory of choices brushing against my thoughts. A train I didn't board. A word I didn't say. A life I almost lived. The chronometer stayed quiet now, no longer screaming warnings, but I could feel time tug at me constantly, testing the knot that bound Lyra and me together. She felt it too. Some mornings she couldn't remember her own reflection, staring into the mirror as if expecting a stranger to look back. Other days she remembered too much, recounting events that never happened in this version of reality. I learned to listen without correcting her. Time hates being told it's wrong. The council never came for us. That scared me more than pursuit would have. Instead, Halcyon Prime began to change in subtle ways. Elevators paused for half a second too long. People experienced déjà vu with unsettling frequency. A man on the lower tiers swore he remembered dying in an industrial accident that had never occurred. The news called it chronal fatigue, a harmless side effect of over-reliance on predictive systems. Lyra called it honesty. "They built a world pretending nothing ever goes wrong," she said one night as we stood on the balcony, city lights flickering below. "All we did